After being defeated, Shredder manages to escape from prison and allies himself with alien creatures to defeat the Ninja Turtles, forcing the brothers to reveal their existence and enlist the help of the police. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, The Ninja Turtles, Out of the Shadows, from 2016. Even after saving the planet, the Ninja Turtles continue to act in the shadows, but more than fighting crime, they love watching basketball games hidden inside the big screen. During the halftime show, the government pays tribute to Vernon and gives him full credit for capturing the Shredder, despite having made an agreement with him to keep them existence a secret. Some of the Turtle brothers are upset at not getting the credit and decide to take out their frustration by throwing paper balls at Vernon while he is giving an interview. Suddenly, April calls Donatello and tells him that she's watching Dr. Baxter, TCRI's chief scientist, and that he's probably working with the Shredder. Knowing this, April uses the watch she received from Donatello and asks for his help to hack into Baxter's emails, but the turtle says that in order to access the files, she needs to get close to one of the scientist's devices. To do this, the reporter waits for Baxter to enter the restaurant and approaches him pretending to be a big fan. While talking to him, April activates the watch that starts downloading the files, but in the middle of the process, a man appears saying that the package has already been dispatched and grabs the scientist's cell phone, interrupting the download. So as not to miss her chance, April says goodbye to Baxter and goes after the man who took her cell phone, pushing him into some girls who start taking pictures of him. In this way, the reporter manages to get the man to stop walking and has enough time to finish the download. While she is moving away from the target, Michelangelo is eating a pizza from inside the screen when he ends up dropping a slice on the court, which knocks out the attacking player and ends the play. In order not to be discovered, the turtles go into the sewer and run back to their lair, but in the middle of the way, Mikey realizes that there's a Halloween parade going on and decides to go out among the humans for the first time, meeting someone dressed as Bumblebee. Realizing what his brother is doing, Leonardo appears on the manhole cover and tries to call him back, but Michelangelo doesn't listen and grabs a microphone to speak to the crowd. Suddenly, Raphael pulls his brother back just as April calls to tell him that she's managed to access Baxter's iPad, but that for some reason the files are deleting themselves. The girl then reveals that she has managed to access the emails and has discovered that the Shredder will be transferred soon, as well as conversations between the Foot Clan who are planning an attack on the convoy. At the prison, the Shredder is put into the transport van and the police chief leaves him and two other prisoners in the care of Officer Casey. In the lair, Leo warns Master Splinter about the Foot Clan's plans and gets into the turtle truck with his brothers, heading towards the convoy. Far away, Dr. Baxter arrives at the Foot Clan's surveillance room and starts watching everything through the drones. Inside the van, Casey begins to tease the Shredder when several motorcycles sneak up behind the convoy, implanting explosives in the cars that blow them all up at once. Noticing the attack, the van driver dodges the wreckage while Casey calls for backup on the radio. Outnumbered, the bandits on their feet begin to climb the van and the policeman takes out a shotgun to bring them down, but as no one has reloaded the weapon before, he can only watch as the criminals cut a hole in the roof. With the hole almost open, the turtles enter the scene and throw manhole covers that take out some of the criminals, but Casey sticks his head out just in time and almost gets hit, dropping his shotgun. Thanks to the truck's weapons, the turtles manage to take down some of the bandits and Baxter orders them to focus on the mutant reptiles. With the new order, the bikers go to the truck and throw several explosives at the vehicle, which thanks to Donatello's armor is still in one piece. To beat back the attack, Raphael jumps out of the garbage truck and knocks down the bikers, stealing one of the bikes to return to the mobile turtle. Just then, the henchmen finish sawing off the roof of the van and a helicopter with a magnet on the end approaches, pulling on the sheet metal with such force that it suspends the vehicle in the air. Without the roof, the helicopter lowers its hook to retrieve the Shredder. To avoid this, Casey goes to the back of the vehicle and fights with the other prisoners, but ends up being knocked out by Bebop. Realizing that the police can do nothing more, Leonardo throws a katana that cuts the helicopter's cable, mocking the Shredder back into the van. Still, the Foot Clan doesn't give up and the helicopter approaches to try and rescue him once again. Knowing that the turtles won't allow it, Baxter decides to teleport the Shredder and opens a portal just as it jumps towards the helicopter. Happy, Baxter celebrates the success of his teleportation machine, but only until he realizes that he has lost the location of the Shredder. Far away, the leader of the Foot Clan realizes that he is in a different place and is captured by an alien brain called Krang. Confused, the Shredder asks why he ended up in this place and the alien reveals that the teleportation device belonged to him, and that it is part of a machine called the Arc Capacitor, which was sent to Earth. When it entered the atmosphere, the device split into three and Dr. Baxter found the first, but the other two are still missing and are scattered around the world, with the first piece in the New York Museum and the second in Brazil. Krang then asks him to put the parts of the capacitor back together and let Dr. Baxter reassemble it, opening the portal for the alien to send his ship to Earth. Wanting to take over the planet with him, the Shredder accepts without a second thought, but says he'll need help to deal with the turtles. Krang says he can solve this and hands over a vial of purple goo that is supposed to be able to wipe out the mutant turtles, sending the Shredder back to Earth straight away. In the sewer, Donatello and April talk about the information they have obtained, and the girl tells them that there must be a backup at TCRI headquarters. To help her break in, Donnie gives her a modified USB stick and the girl sets off for the building. In the city center, the police chief begins his investigations when Detective Rebecca arrives, saying that she will be taking over the case from now on. To begin with, the woman asks to speak to the witnesses and hears Casey's story. But when he talks about the turtles, none of his superiors believe his story and decide to remove him because he's going crazy. Wanting to investigate on his own, the policeman gets into his car and starts checking the records of the other inmates who escaped with the Shredder. Analyzing the files, he realizes that the two frequent a bar and decides to go there to find them. Before Jones arrives, Rocksteady and Bebop buy disposable cell phones and start drinking when they are surprised by the Shredder, who recruits them as guinea pigs for that purple goo. Soon after they leave, Officer Jones arrives and tries to ask a few questions, but the bar owner pretends not to know anything and the policeman is forced to appeal by breaking the establishment's machines. With no options, the man says he sold his cell phone and gave away the GPS capable of finding the devices. At the TCRI building, Baxter is still looking for the whereabouts of the Shredder when the real one shows up behind him, telling him where he ended up and that they need to continue their work. Without suspecting that April is in the building, the Shredder tells him that they need to find the other parts of the capacitor and hands the purple goo to Baxter, saying that they should use it to synthesize warriors capable of wiping out the turtles. The scientist then places the object in the incubator and manages to create some samples. The Shredder, on the other hand, attaches vials to darts and fires them at Bebop and Rocksteady, turning them into real monsters. Watching everything from outside, April takes advantage of the others moving away and enters the laboratory to get the dart in the cylinder with the samples, running away and activating the alarm that closes the building. With the members of the Foot Clan trapped, the girl runs outside and escapes through the streets while Casey prepares to break into the building. As soon as he sees the reporter running through the streets, the policeman changes his plans and puts on a hockey mask to go after her, saving April when she is cornered by the Foot Clan. With a bat, the policeman manages to knock out most of the thugs, but one of them manages to steal the cylinder and tries to escape, forcing Casey to knock him out with a disc. Just then, the police arrive and April runs while being chased by the last member of the Foot Clan, leaving the sample in the hands of the officers. Cornered by the villain, the reporter begins to think she's going to be captured when Casey appears by surprise and saves her once again. Alone, the two introduce themselves and start chatting until the turtles arrive to help, ordering Casey to stay away. Realizing how scared the policeman was, April takes pity and tells him that these are her friends, introducing the brothers. Now that they've all met, the girl shows them the dart and tells them about Bebop and Rocksteady's transformation. As soon as he hears their names, Casey decides to help them deal with it and accompanies them to the lair. Instead, Donatello starts working on the isotope samples in the dart and manages to create a solution capable of transforming them into humans, but as he has very little goo, he can only do something temporary. Donatello then says that if they can get the cylinder that was left with the police, they can make a permanent transformation, but Leonardo says they don't need it. Even though he realizes his brother's sadness, Leo asks him not to talk about it with the others, but Michelangelo is hiding and he hears everything and runs to tell Raphael, making the Red Turtle extremely angry. At the Foot Clan HQ, Karai tells her that the cylinder is at the police station and the Shredder asks her to send a team to retrieve it. Meanwhile, he joins Bebop and Rocksteady and goes to get the second part of the capacitor from the Natural History Museum. When he arrives at the place, the Shredder finds the artifact and manages to retrieve it without much difficulty. Figuring that the third piece will also be easy, the leader of the Foot Clan passes on the next location to his monster henchmen and leaves them in charge of recovering the object in Brazil. Without knowing anything about what is going on, Raphael goes to make amends with Leonardo and shows how angry he is that he wants to keep it a secret. Leonardo then gets egocentric and says that he is the team leader, so the only decision that matters is his. Thanks to this argument, Leonardo decides to go to the museum with Donatello and leaves the other two alone in the den. But Raphael refuses to stand idly by and takes the opportunity to get the samples. Without knowing what he is planning, Leo and Donnie arrive at the museum and begin to investigate their surroundings, discovering that they have interacted with a neutronium nucleus, the most important ingredient in the creation of a black hole. With this discovery, Donatello says that it must have something to do with the portal through which the Shredder disappeared, which leaves Leonardo worried about what will come from the other side. In the den, Raphael decides to ask April to help him break into the police evidence warehouse. Even though she doesn't think Leonardo will agree to it, the reporter accepts and goes to get Vernon to help with the plan. Now that he has become the city's hero, the ex-cameraman distracts the police and installs a device on the office's server, entering April and Casey's data into the system so that they can log in as employees. In this way, the humans manage to access the evidence deposit without any major problems, but when they arrive at the place, they find the ninjas of the Foot Clan fleeing with the cylinder. To prevent this from happening, April activates the police station's fire alarm and Michelangelo asks Raphael and Donatello for help. Like any good extra, the cops are only good for a beating and Raphael decides to take action, climbing out of the ventilation duct to attack the Foot Clan. Because they are stronger, the turtles are able to take down their enemies quite easily, but the police don't know who they are and try to arrest them, calling the four of them monsters. At that moment, Casey and April arrive to help and act as a human shield, standing in front of the guns so that the four can escape safely. As a result, the two are arrested and sent to the interrogation room with Rebecca. Wanting to warn us about what has happened, April tells them that Baxter is working with the Shredder and has used the purple goo to turn Bebop and Rocksteady into mutant creatures. Rebecca then says that the scientists sent her the recording from the TCRI security cameras and shows the moment she stole the cylinder, blaming everything on April. Meanwhile, the Ninja Turtles arrive at the lair and start arguing with each other, which makes Leonardo wonder if they should really remain a team. Wanting to help him, Master Splinter says that a good leader is able to overcome these problems, and that a good brother should do everything to keep them together. At that moment, Donatello identifies the isotopic signal of the purple goo and discovers that the Foot Clan is going to Brazil, more specifically to Manaus. In the middle of the Amazon rainforest, Bebop and Rocksteady drive a battle tank to the location of the third piece. Using the cannon, they destroy the surrounding protection and take the third artifact. In the cargo compartment of a plane, the turtles are flying through Brazilian territory when Donatello realizes that the monsters of the Foot Clan are already returning to New York. Analyzing the routes, Donnie realizes that the aircraft will cross paths and they decide to jump, surfing through the air until they reach the plane. As he is afraid of heights, Raphael ends up taking too long to jump and almost goes straight over, but manages to hit the aircraft thanks to the parachute, crashing through the glass. With Leonardo's help, he manages to attach himself to the plane and the four of them go through the emergency exit together, throwing the ninjas out. Thinking that everyone is gone, the brothers begin to analyze the artifact until Bebop and Rocksteady show up to confront them, starting a real fight between mutants. Rocksteady climbs into the battle tank and starts shooting at the brothers, but this ends up destroying the plane's structure and ejecting the pilots, causing the aircraft to go into free fall. Desperate, Donatello goes to the cockpit and tries to avoid falling, but the stick comes loose and he has to use brute force to correct the trajectory. Because of the maneuvers, the plane's structure can't take it and breaks in half, causing Raphael to fall into the middle of the Amazon River. Right behind him, the plane also crashes and everyone ends up in the water, fighting with the monsters for the artifact. While fighting, Rocksteady enters the tank and fires a shot that almost hits Donatello, forcing Raphael to jump in to save him. On the other side of the river, Leonardo ends up losing the artifact to Bebop, who goes into the pond with Rocksteady, staying safe on the rocks while the brothers descend towards a gigantic waterfall. Helpless, the four fall into the water and hide in their hulls to avoid the impact, but still leave the battlefield feeling defeated. At the police station, April tries to convince Rebecca to allow her to make a phone call, but the woman refuses and Casey is forced to steal her cell phone. With the device in hand, the reporter calls Vernon and asks him to get a video proving that Baxter is working with the Shredder. To do this, Vernon goes to TCRI headquarters and manages to identify a camera hidden inside the clock on the wall. By pulling the cable from the camcorder, Vernon manages to access the database with the recordings and downloads the files. On another plane, the four turtles argue non-stop, which makes Leonardo get fed up and say that they will never be a real team. Back in New York, Baxter completes the capacitor and begins to open the portal between dimensions. At the police station, Vernon goes to Rebecca and shows her the real recording of what happened at TCRI, clearing April and the turtles. While issuing the order for Dr. Baxter's arrest, Rebecca sees the portal opening in the sky and orders all her men to go there. In the burrow, the turtles also realize what's happening and decide to get together one last time to fight the evil one. In the center, the portal opens and the pieces of the Krang begin to be transported. Analyzing the situation, Donatello says that the atmosphere around the Technodrome is toxic to humans, but as they are turtles, they will be able to approach and deactivate the portal without any problems. Michelangelo then remembers that they are being searched and Donnie suggests they take a drink of the purple goo, saying that it will make them look human on the outside, leaving them unrecognizable. More mature, Leonardo says he'll do what they think is best and Raphael takes the cylinder from his hands, throwing it against the wall. To save the city, they leave the sewer and run into a police battalion led by Rebecca. As soon as she sees them, the woman asks why she should trust them and Vernon tells her that it was the four of them who saved the city the first time. Convinced, Rebecca agrees to help them and Donatello gives them the location of the portal, telling them to take April and some policemen to close the passage. Leonardo then asks another convoy to take them to the ship and tells them that they're going to fight Krang in his territory. In the center, Baxter delivers the suit so that the Shredder can breathe in the Technodrome, but he ends up being betrayed by the leader of the Foot Clan who orders his arrest. With no more obstacles, the man opens the portal and goes to Krang, but is also betrayed by the alien who freezes his body, trapping him in its cryogenic chamber. In the center, the Turtles arrive with the police battalion and go to the top of the building, jumping onto one of the pieces of the ship to surf to Krang. On the other side of town, Casey and the other policemen go to the headquarters of the Foot Clan, but Karai sees them approaching through the security cameras and closes the place down, causing the vehicles to be completely destroyed when they collide with the obstacles. Luckily April's car gets through and they have to explore the place on their own. Searching for the portal, Casey's group is almost found by the mutant criminals, but manages to hide at the last second. Since they can't waste any time, the policeman asks Vernon and April to close the portal while he distracts the hooded enemies. To do so, the policeman comes out of hiding and gets them both out of the way, allowing the former journalists to advance through the building while the Turtles arrive at the Technodrome to confront Krang. While the brothers take a beating on top of the building, Casey runs away from Bebop and tries to hide among the cars, but ends up being hit by Rocksteady and ends up near a garbage can. Taking advantage of the scrap metal, the policeman improvises a roller skate and lures them away, taking them into a container and arresting them along with a grenade. At the Technodrome, the Turtle brothers keep trying to take on Krang, but they don't seem to have a chance. Leonardo then tells Donatello that they will distract the alien while he goes to the console to send the ship back to where it came from. While his brothers fight, Donnie tries to take control of the Technodrome and discovers that the transmitter is on the top of the aircraft. With the weapons about to be activated, Michelangelo uses his skateboard's turbo to climb the walls and reach the transmitter on the ceiling. To avoid this, Krang starts firing bursts of energy at the brothers and almost hits Michelangelo, but luckily he manages to dodge and gets the transmitter out of place. With time running out, Mikey tries to hand the object over to Donatello, but ends up being knocked down by Krang, who begins to squeeze him. With the youngest's hull about to crack, Raphael and Leonardo jump on the enemy and manage to remove the robot's head, opening the way for Donatello to short-circuit the main system. Victorious, the brothers attach the transmitter to a drone, taking the object into the portal and attracting the pieces of the ship to return from whence they came. With that done, April and Vernon reach the portal control and begin to confront Karai, distracting the woman so that Casey has time to get there and close the portal. After the last piece of the ship flies back to another dimension, the passage between worlds is sealed. Thanks to their heroic deeds, the city is now safe and the Turtles have been given the key to the city by Rebecca. But despite this, they decide to continue acting in the shadows, like true ninjas. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.